another guest to talk about his experiences and future predictions. That guest is Luís Santos, an associate of ALPAC Capital and economist. He is 39, studied in Lisbon and New York, is a father of 2 kids, and has been all over the world.
According to the curriculum that is presented on LinkedIn, Luís Santos studied economics at Universidade Nova de Lisboa and Columbia Business School in New York. He also got a doctorate in political science and international relations from Universidade Católica Portuguesa.
Between 2005 and 2013, Luís Santos was a consultant for McKinsey & Company, a USA-based business. In 2013, became an associate of ALPAC Capital, a business that works with investments in areas such as technology, communication, and finance.
So, the questions that we ask you today aim to explore different facets of your career and experience, providing our students with valuable insights into the professional world and inspiring reflections about their academic and career choices.
So, first question, I hope you're excited. How would you describe your academic journey from choosing to study economy until your doctorate in political science and international relationships?
Okay, first of all, good morning to everyone. I'm very excited to be here. Just with a show of hands, how many of you are Portuguese? Okay. I should have asked how many are not Portuguese. How many of you are not Portuguese? Okay, not so many. And second question, how many of you know where you want to be in life, where you want to be, not geography, what do you want to be doing 10 years from now? 7, 8? Can you raise the hand if you feel like so? Okay, so not so many. Okay. The feedback is making feedback? No. It's okay. Okay. So, yes. If it happens again, I can just switch it off. So your question is about my academic background, right? So I studied at Salesianos do Estoril, in Estoril, school, private school, top school in the country, and because I was very fortunate, like you, to be in such a good school, most of us go to university. So out of 30, 26 went to the best university of our field, which was economics. There I was number 2, so top 1% of that university, and because of that, I was able to enter McKinsey, which is not a business based in the US. It's the most famous strategy consulting company in the world, by far. It's called the firm. So it's the unique. So, which means, as a Portuguese or as someone studying in Portugal, you don't have access to everything in the world from the beginning. It's just because you come from Torres Vedras or Estoril or Lisbon. You're not in Oxford yet. So you need some stamps in your curriculum that show to the world that you are capable of that. And going into McKinsey is one of the options. So I worked very hard that I could be one of the best students, so then I could enter McKinsey. And by enter McKinsey, you have one thing you have for granted is that 2 years later, you are at Harvard or Stanford or Columbia. And that's the real stamp. Once you are doing it's an MBA, so it's a Master's in Business Administration, which I did 2 years and a half after my degree in economics, after 2 years and a half after McKinsey. Then I was at Columbia. And Columbia is one of the 7 Ivy League schools. There are 7 all in the US, top 7 in the world. If you study there, you can do whatever you want in life. After that MBA, you can decide to work in Japan or the US or Portugal or Spain. Everyone will take you. If you come from Harvard, try it. Meet someone that studied in Harvard or Stanford or Columbia. They can find the job they want in essentially any country in the world, provided some other things exist. But so that was the key trick. Then much later, so I finished the MBA. I was the 4th youngest of my class, so it was too young to do it. But I finished when I was 25. So when I was 33, as a hobby, as a way to be better every day, as a way to prove to the world that I also do the things I believe in. I decided to do a PhD. So while I was running so many businesses that I will tell you about, owning them and managing them, I was also doing a PhD just as a hobby, just for the sake of showing to the world that this is possible. So I did a PhD in Catholic University in political science and international relations, and my thesis was about the strategic implications of the Chinese investments in Europe. So it's something very geopolitical. It was a very good grade. There was never a highest grade in Catholic, so it was well done. And that is it for my academic background. Let me just go a step back. Most of the things that I can tell you are about the journey, the path, the process to get to some place that will make you feel fulfilled. So what I'm saying is that somehow between today and 10, 20 years from now, you may feel absolutely fulfilled, realizados, happy in the sense of realização, fulfillment. And that is not easy to get there. And you will meet few people that are fulfilled in life. So most of what I can tell you is my experience, how I became fulfilled, which means I can tell you, and this is the most important thing I need to tell you before you listen to anything else, is that I really feel fulfilled today. So I'm 40 years old, not 39. One of you said 39. I'm 40 years old, and I'm happy to the highest level possible. I really feel fulfilled. I just want more of the same thing in my life. And this is very hard to get. It's not common to find. So by telling you this, I'm even going to tell you some of the things that I have, that I achieved, because by saying that, you will think, oh, yeah, this is impressive. Now I'm going to listen to what he has to say. Until I show you that what I have is really great, I don't think you're really paying a lot of attention and really thinking I need to pay attention to this, okay? But because it is a big investment that we come here, it took 2 months to find a date to come, and now I'm here for 2 hours. It's good that you understand it's valuable. So I'm going to brag, vamos gabar, for 5 minutes, and then you can ask questions. But you need to understand what it means to feel fulfilled. So I have, the most important thing of it, I have 2 kids of my own, 2.5 years old, 4 years old. I have 2 more from my girlfriend, 10 and 17. It's a very happy family. We are together half of the time, so I am divorced. My girlfriend, she's also. And I live close to my sister and my father. We live in a sort of big compound where the kids play around, big space for all of us with a swimming pool, several, and a soccer field. And they really feel that they can conquer things in the world because their parents and their grandparents have acquired. But it's a very united family. So if you ask me what was the most important thing that happened to you in the last year, in the last 12 months, by far, do you have a question? Do you want to ask something? No? Okay. So the most important thing that happened to, do you have a question? Do you want me to stop you talk to her? Okay. If you do it again, I'm going to ask you to leave because I listen to the noise. So if you ask me about the most exciting thing that happened to me, it was Christmas, just being with my family. So the family is really, really tight and neat, and we are very happy together. And there is nothing like that matters to you that it is to be united with your family. If you have everything else but you don't have that, your core, it's dramatic. You won't be fulfilled in any case. So on top of it, I visited all the countries I wanted to visit. I visited 116 countries. The others that I haven't, just because I don't really have much curiosity to visit. I lived in 15 countries. I have a PhD in political science, but I studied most of the religions, probably all of them, most of the philosophers that you could name. I think it's hard that you find, any of you know the name of a philosopher that I haven't read. So I read about 3,000 books. I read 2 to 3 a week. So what I'm saying is that I'm fulfilled with my family, but I have time to read 3 books a week, and actually I exercise every day, an hour and a half, which means I really have free time, free from work, right? And this is very important. So whatever you're doing, if you don't have time to read, to learn every day beyond school when you leave, and if you don't have time to exercise, you won't be balanced. So now to the boring, but maybe more boring for you, maybe more exciting for you, my businesses, what I do for a living. So I own several businesses, part because I own, so I'm one of the two owners of an investment group, which means these two owners, we buy businesses and then we prove them and we sell them. So we could buy the store here at the school, then we would improve it, make it sell more, make more money, then we'd sell someone else. But we don't do stores at school. So we do telecommunication companies, several, from Montenegro to Albania to Israel to Hungary. We are shareholders of that.
What's the name of the company? You're talking all about it.
ALPAC Capital.
Okay, I thought it was that, but I just wanted to check.
Yes, it's good. So ALPAC Capital owns 3 funds. So the telecom fund has several companies, now all merged in one. The technology fund has 6 companies. And then media, which is by far the most exciting. We own Euronews. It is the largest media really in the world. It's 17 languages. There is no other with 5 languages. So it is the only one that has 17 languages. So Euronews is famous everywhere, but not the big channel anywhere. So maybe in Moldavia it's very important because it's the only Russian channel from outside Russia, essentially. So, and in Moldavia they speak Russian. So, but in Portugal it's very tiny. But there are 10,000 people that watch it, and these, of course, they are very influential. Because if you're going to watch Euronews and not SIC or TVI, that's because TVI is TV. That's because you really need to pay attention to the whole world. So this means owning several businesses in several countries. Most of them, they are not even in Portugal. And it's fun, they are relevant, they impact the world. So I just want to manage these and do more of this. I'm not looking for new things in life, just because I achieved what I wanted to achieve. So now that I gave you that, I want to make sure that I tell you the most important thing I have to tell you today, because hopefully I captured your attention by telling where I am today. When on average you're about 15 or 16 years old, and you don't know yet how tough life is. Now it feels easy because you just study. You don't even pay to study. Your parents do that. You have food. If it's raining, you're inside. You learn every day. You have great surfaces, computers to play around. Soon you learn the basic thing that the world doesn't owe you anything. You're going to be doing it for you. Even if your parents will leave you an inheritance, money, uma herança, that won't give you happiness, I promise you. Once you're 20, 25 years old, it's all about what you make with your own hands. And so the one thing you need to do now, the one thing I'm going to tell you, I'm sure 2 or 3 of you are going to listen to this, the other will forget it. But the only thing you have to do now is to study 3 hours a day at home, beyond school. If you study 3 hours a day now, which will be 6 when you are at the university, and then it's working 12 hours a day after that. If you do 3 hours a day, 3 hours per day, at home, organizing, what did I learn today? What do I think I'm going to study tomorrow? If you do that, you're going to be the best student of this school. You're going to go to the best university, maybe in the US or the UK, and you're going to do whatever you want in life. If you don't know this, if you don't do the 3 hours, you're just going to be one of them, just one among you. And with that, it's going to be much harder to have at your hands what later you will wish to achieve. You see what I mean? Now, I'm telling you ahead of time, if you study 3 hours a day, it doesn't matter. The others are playing soccer, they are dating, it doesn't matter. If you do 3 hours a day every day, you're going to be the best student, and you're going to go to the best university, and most likely you can do whatever you want with your life. That is the thing. Now I can answer all your questions.
So I have a question. I know you've worked in various countries, and what were the cultural difficulties between them?
So it's many countries. If you want to know, it's Japan, China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brazil, Mexico, Chile, Peru, US, Portugal, Angola, Spain, Luxembourg. And now it's more broad because I have many businesses. But that's the places I've lived and worked. The most challenging thing is when you start going to different civilizations. So Europe is a civilization, really, not getting into details. So Portugal or Spain or Italy, we are different, but it's kind of the same. Civilization means, let's say, China or Japan. They don't come from the same place. So 2,000-3,000 years ago, it was totally separated. For you to have an idea, we always learn in history, we learn the European history or the Western history. But 300, 400, 600, 800 years ago, China was a quarter of the world, India was a quarter of the world. They were different civilizations. They don't come from the same place. At some point, we got together. But when you go to a different civilization, like China, like India, like Japan, some African culture for a degree, they don't think that the same way we do. The values are intrinsically different. And we tend to judge at the beginning, when you don't have that experience, you tend to judge based on our way of understanding. So, an example, I think it will kill it for you. You're with the Indian, and the Indian will tell you that love is a very romantic thing, but it's really not pragmatic, and is actually very selfish. Because if you decide to marry a boy or a girl because she's beautiful, he's beautiful, treats you well, whatever, that is the criteria, because you're in love. You're just being selfish, because you're forgetting that your mother and your grandmother and their mothers had to put up with a lot of poverty and malnutrition, so that now, supposedly you're relatively wealthy, now you could marry for kasta, marry for a level in society, and with that you would make sure that no one else in your life will have to deal with what they dealt, including your mother and your grandmother that could now be slightly richer. So why would you be so selfish and forget what your mother and your grandmother did for you? Because when you were 2 years old and 4 years old and 6 months, they were changing your diapers and they were not eating for you to eat, right? So it looks ridiculous. How would I not marry for love? How would I not choose my partner out of love, or because the person looks good or treats me well? But you can't argue. I'm gonna choose my partner based on those criteria, but I can't argue. I mean, there is a point to that. You are being selfish. So that means that when you're working, really what is not traveling, when you're working with the Chinese, with an Indian, with the Vietnamese, etc., you can't just presume they think the way you do, because they don't. So it takes a lot of getting together and understanding each other. It takes months, and still after months you don't understand them so well. So that leads to a lot of conflicts and frustrations. So when you're trying to put together the advantages of working with people from different civilizations, you are dealing with the issue of diversity that really makes you much more probable that you clash a lot.
You worked at McKinsey & Company for around 8 years, and you said that when you work there, it's like a stamp and you're kind of settled. What was it like to work there as a consultant?
So, is there anyone that doesn't know what it means, McKinsey or strategy consulting? Yeah. Okay. Does anyone know what it is? Do you want to try? No? Okay. So, McKinsey & Company is the most famous, most successful out of 3 or 4 big consulting companies. These companies help essentially the big companies and the big governments to solve their major strategic issues, and then also to solve some operational, more practical issues that they can solve on their own. So they are extremely expensive, millions of euros for a week of work to solve very fundamental issues, generally for very big companies. So this is very difficult, of course, to do. So they need to get, essentially, it's the best student of the top 20 universities in each country. So every year they get 20. And these 20 people, they will work there for a few years. And then you can't keep them forever, so they will go at some point. But for those years, you keep them. So this means that everyone around you is extremely capable, so super intelligent, but also super hardworking. Because you can't just be intelligent or hardworking. If you want to be the best student of your university, you need, of course, to do both. Actually, being intelligent, smart, or being hardworking is not even the scarcest the resource. It's not the most unique. What is hard to find, unfortunately, is kindness. People that are good-hearted. I'm not saying that all people that are good-hearted. But they are very intelligent and very hardworking. Some are good-hearted, some are not. But that creates an atmosphere of 100% quality. It can't go wrong. If you don't do it right, someone else will do it for you. It won't be good for you, but it will be right in the end. But the level of quality is always 100%, which means that either you do it well or you're going to work later. So you can work from 11, 12 hours a day to 15, 16, 17 hours a day, really working, so at the office, 17, not home office, depending really on how focused you are. So if you don't waste your time with social media and just chit-chatting about the soccer game last night, you can probably do it for 11 hours, which means you can have a life. So you're there for 11 years, you sleep 7, there's 18, so you have 6 more. You can even have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or go to the gym maybe, or travel. But if you don't, your life is miserable because you're working for 17 hours a day, you need to go home, you need to take showers, you sleep 5 hours, and you don't do anything else. But it is a privilege. So if you are there, really, no one is complaining that they are working hard. It's a privilege because with that stamp, you can get to an MBA in one of these universities. And then with that stamp, with the second stamp, then the world is yours. But for you to know, for you to follow, they hire, in my year, they hire 25 people, essentially 1 or 2 from each of the top universities. So 1 from Nova in economics, 1 from Nova management, 1 from Catholic economics, 1 from Catholic management, 1 from engineering, 5 from engineering of technical, 5 from engineering of Nova, and then the same from Porto. 1 from each. We were 25. Started the 2nd of September 2005. 6 months later, they fire 5. 6 months later, they fire another 5. 6 months later, they fire another 5. 6 months later, they fire another 5, and the others go to the MBA. So out of the 25 that were the best students of those universities, 5 are fired every day, and you only remain 5. So you need to be the best student of the best university. Then you need to go there, and then you need to be of the top 5 of the 25. So then you go to the MBA, and then the world is yours. Now imagine you are in China. In China, and I worked there, even with McKinsey, so I'm telling you from my friends, they need to be the best student of their village in the 1st grade. So they can go to the city and be the best student of one school in the city on the 4th grade. So by the 7th grade, they can go to the best school of their city. So they can go by 9th grade to the best school of their province. So they can do the 12th grade in the best school of their province so that they can go to the best university. Otherwise, they don't get in. You can be fulfilled, but the pyramid goes like this. It can always be better. So what is the implication? It applies to you also. You're 50 or 100 people here. You can achieve anything you want really in life with time, but you can't be just one at the university, at school, at the 10th grade. You really need to think, okay, if I want to go all the way that this guy is talking about, or in general the people you see on television, you really need to start now, being the one working harder now. Otherwise, you'll lose this train. But it's still possible. None of you, for you to have an idea, it's also important. I was smart, but I was fool. Probably like all of you, we are fools when we are 14, 15. What it means, because we are immature. We really don't take life so seriously. We think, things are given. When I was at the 11th grade, so meaning I had an average of 15 or 16, so out of 20. When I was at the 11th grade, it clicked me. It wasn't a click, it was the English teacher. I saw your English teacher. Yes, there. So it was, the English teacher was fundamental to me. Why? Because in general, the English teachers bring bring perspective. The others could also bring, but in my case was the English teacher. And she told me this path. If you go to this university, and then you can go to McKinsey, then you can, wow. So when she told me that, I realized that I needed to go to the university, and then I needed to go, and I needed to work harder than the others. So suddenly I started having 20 out of 20 in every single exam. Can you imagine? I'm a 15 out of 20. Tinha sempre 15 em todas as cadeiras e passei a ter 20 em todas as cadeiras. I was the first in that school to have 20 in all the exams, 12th grade and 20 in the national exam. But it was a click. I really needed to work hard, right? So until you have the click, you're still full, like you're still fooling around. You're not yet taking it seriously, and you'll pay later. Huh? So
the question I have here is about you being an ALPAC Capital's associate, but from what I understand, you're more of an owner. Like, what motivated you to do that?
Yes, so I didn't correct you. Associate is the entry level. I founded it with another partner, so I own it. Managing partner means managing it. So it didn't exist. So we created ALPAC 10 years ago because we wanted to bring to Portugal. We were both living abroad. I was in Singapore and my partner was in Colombia, really. But he worked at McKinsey with me and he was at my university as well. So in opposite places of the world, we had the same idea of creating a private equity also based out of Portugal. Private equity is this type of company. There were already some in Portugal, but they didn't have this world perspective. They are good. They are actually very good. I'm friends with the other owners. I respect them a lot, but they do Portugal for Portugal. So it's Portuguese people doing Portugal, and they kind of learn by going. And I had the experience to work with some of the biggest funds in the world, Americans, Chinese, Japanese, doing that. So I really had this unique knowledge that I acquired from American people and Chinese people and Japanese, and it was a big advantage. So I wanted to do it, but I wanted to do it in Portugal. Just because I wanted to kind of give back to the country. It's much harder to do it here than what I thought. It would have been much easier. If I would go back, maybe I would have done it in England. But it was my choice. It didn't come, it wasn't necessarily the right decision. But here we are.
Could you please talk about how the investment choices are made in your company?
Yes, of course. So even before, so when you have funds, it means that you invest your own money, but you also raise other people's money. Generally, banks, foundations, very wealthy people will put some money, but generally like institutional money, insurance companies. So for them to trust you, you need to have already invested your money and make money, because you have to prove yourself. It's like a stamp. Okay, if you can make money with your money, then you can do it with my money. So before having funds, our first project that worked very well was that we arrived in Portugal in 2014. Okay, and like today, if you go outside, this is January, it's not windy, it's sunny. And by then, the country was trying to invest to have renewable energies, but we were doing wind energy. So the state was subsidizing, was paying 350 euros to produce energy that was valued in the market for 50 euros. So the state pays 350, and then we produce it and we sell it for 50. So, and there was no solar energy. Just there was no know-how for doing it. So we had the idea of putting a lot of work into doing mega solar parks in Portugal, as those that were being done in other countries, but not in Portugal. And it worked very well. So we have sold to Galp, the Portuguese company, 450 megawatts. So that's like 3% of what the whole country produces, and we'll have about double that. So at that moment, we were just looking for a super opportunity to convert hundreds of thousands and tens of millions. We needed to find something very unique and relevant. So that was just any sector could do. Just it must be the one you can multiply money by 100 times. That was one moment in life. Then when we started having our own money to put money and then other people would invest with us, we find a sector, a type of investment, and then we find which companies we could potentially buy, and then we need to find people to invest with us. So you need to detail what type of companies. So the first fund we did was technology, then was telecom, the other was media. But we detail up front the sector in which you can invest. So then the criteria is within that sector, what do we invest in, right? So for the first two funds, it was about companies that were already good, but we could make them much greater by adding money and our knowledge of the world and access to the world. So let's say the software you use here, your parents use to see your grades, to book stuff here, it's called e-schooling. It is from one of the companies we invested. So it was already the biggest in Portugal, but by acquiring it and putting some money and some help, it became the software in 85% of the schools, not 50, in Portugal. But we also acquired a company in Brazil, and it grows even faster than here. So we multiplied by like 6 times by giving it the strength, the courage to buy a company in Brazil, to make it grow, to hire people to make it grow, and even to grow here and some other countries. But so it needed to have that potential. That was earlier. Now the most recent investment we have done, which is Euronews, it is a much more radical play, because this is taking a brand that was not really famous, and it was based in Lyon, and we are taking it to the heart of Europe, to Brussels, and we are having hundreds of journalists in Brussels. So it's totally changing the nature of that business. It's still media, but it is at the heart and it's doing its own news. So it's more, it's riskier, bolder, and what I'm saying is, this is really risky business. What we were doing before was safe business. I would only invest in companies I knew I could turn into 4 or 5 times more. Now, because we have that credibility and that success, then we can do bolder things. And we couldn't do it 10 years ago or 8 years ago, because just if we failed, our career would be destroyed. Okay, so it's too risky to do very risky things. Now, that's a moment where we can do really meaningful things. We are talking about Portuguese guys buying the most famous media brand in Europe that is famous but is not even relevant, and making it super relevant, right? So, and that's the stage where we as Portuguese can make a difference in the world, because just improving a software company and taking it to Brazil, it's great, but it doesn't change, doesn't move the needle. And now, because it's such a new game for us, we are not investing more. Until this one is done and successful, we are careful, and we don't want to spare attention to anything else.
Right now, you have something with Code Vision, right? Mm-hmm. What was it that caught your eye about it?
So it was exactly what I was looking for. I needed to invest in 7 technology companies that were already good, and they could be turned great. So I didn't want to invest anything in a company that could go bankrupted. Then I can tell you later. And this one, it was already working. It was just small, but it could be 5 times bigger. That was one. The other is the founders, the owners. They were really nice people. They were from the north of the country. Generally, this means hardworking. They speak they speak from their heart. They don't come up with excuses. They really want to socialize and have you eating and drinking with them. And so it's really down to earth people that had a good business but still they had the dream. They would tell me, okay, we can go try to buy a company in Italy and in Brazil, but I don't know how to do it, and I'm not going to move to Brazil to buy it. So can you help me really? I'm putting my baby in your hands by doing this, right? So we could create this. I gave them the dream and the support to go after it, and they gave me their trust and their company, and it really worked well, really. But these were the 2 fundamental factors. So why I didn't want to invest in like startups is because you may have 20 businesses, very big ones, very important ones. If one is losing money, everyone's energy goes to that, because you can't stand having something not working. So it's like a rotten apple in a basket of apples. And it's very stressful to have a new business that may not work, or you saw something. So the criteria was that it was already good, just it could be greater.
So you've talked about technology and education, and now I'm curious, what do you think of innovative solutions of software being implemented in education, namely the introduction of AI?
Well, great question. I need to split technology and from AI. So, although the answer is the same, but not only the world doesn't go back, but it changes faster. Every day is slightly faster, the change. It's not that it's different, it changes faster. For you to have an idea, I don't know if this was true 1 year ago yet, and it was true for many years, the amount of information available online doubled itself every 72 hours. Can you believe this? If you have a gazillion bytes, I don't know if it exists, a gazillion bytes online, in 3 days, you're going to have 2 gazillions. This is every 3 days. It's insane. So, being exposed to technology, not only for the impact, for the improvement in abilities it gives you, but just for the sake of having to deal with new technology, is one of the most fundamental things you can learn in school. You also really need to know about the Portuguese history and the French history and the German history and the Chinese history, because you won't go too far if you don't. And you need to speak languages, and you need to program. You really actually need that information. Geography, this is super important, geography. Okay, so you also need that. But on top, and you have that disadvantage, because now it's even more important, you need to learn how to deal with innovation with a much smaller buffer, with much less safe zone. You really need to get exposed to new things very frequently, because that is the skill you need. So in McKinsey, for example, the projects that they do in general, it's to solve a problem that no one has solved. Because if it was solved already, someone could do it. They wouldn't pay you a lot. So what is the skill you need? And that's the skill you train so if you go training 2 weeks per year, you're training problem solving, just solving problems, solving something new. So what I'm telling you here is that one of the most important things you need to learn in this school is to deal with new technology. Not the existing technology, the fact that there is new technology. and then of course use all the technology. So what I'm seeing, and this is again, I'm in technology education, so this is something I'm very into. We are already splitting the world, especially in companies, into, and this happened in the last year, people that are using AI and people that are not using, within the same organization, in almost every company. If you talk to anyone working on this, they are telling you, in Santander, or Tranquilidad, or TAP, there are people that are using AI, people that are really, the ChatGPT is just the new Google. If you don't use this, you're out. So, but in school, I hope they are teaching you what is ChatGPT and you install it. I hope they do. But in a company, if you don't, imagine there is someone, a 40-year-old, using Google to search for something, and there is another one searching with ChatGPT. In one, you need to write synonyms of whatever. With the other, you can talk to the computer and ask, I'm trying to create a new blah blah, and I could use synonyms of whatever. He understands why you need it, so he gives you a whole context. Of course, then you need to, the trick is you need to learn how to use it better and better. But by the way, just this ChatGPT and the other AI tools, they are learning how to work with dumb people like us, right? Because it only gives you based on what you ask. So he knows that we don't ask very well, so he's improving by the day. So AI is just one of the new technologies, but there are others. So, for example, when I was at McKinsey and we were doing I won't say the name, but it's a healthcare group in Portugal, private one. They had clinics and hospitals, and I needed to understand which specialties, especialidades médicas, we needed, where, more doctors or not. So we needed to use the history, the records to estimate the growth. I had to use 3 computers. Can you imagine? I took 3 computers to my house, and I was running queries, and each query would take about 6 hours. So I asked a question, how many, blah, 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 and it would take 6 hours to give. So I was using 3 computers, not one, really 3. Nowadays, you can use in the same computer, because you just throw it to a cloud, you can use infinite computer capacity. So distributed computing and machine learning, it's not AI, it's a totally different thing. It can work together with AI, but there are more. So there is no option to embrace it. If you don't embrace it, you're going to be left with jobs that no one else wants to do. Generally very low paying and not very fulfilling. If you don't embrace it, there's just no way back.
So I have a question. How can an individual like me, who's really interested in businesses and entrepreneuring, or a small company, differentiate itself in the competitive market?
How old are you?
I'm 17.
Are you going to the university?
Yes.
Which one?
I don't really know yet.
Which one you want to go?
Well, I would like to go to Católica, I think.
Okay. What is your average grade?
I have 15.
15.
Yes.
So this year or the next, you can enter Nova or Católica. I think Nova is slightly better, although I did my PhD in Católica, but I did the economics degree. If I could choose, I would go to Nova, but it's not a big difference. But if you think that it's better, if you agree with me it's better, you should go there. So you have 2 options. You take 20 in math this year, and I think you can enter, even with 15. But even if at 20 you cannot, just because you had 20 in math this year and you almost got, I'm sure next year will come in. It doesn't matter that you lose 1 year. If you understand by going to Nova you open the doors for a world that you want somewhere else, then you should do it. Just you lose 1 year, but you don't really lose. You get to a place that opens all the doors. So the only thing that matters now is to have 20 in the national exam of math and enter that university. There is nothing else. You don't need to learn about businesses. I'm really serious. Because that exam is the normalizer to verify how good you are versus everyone else in the country. If you have 20, the door opens. If you have 16, other doors open, but not that one. So it's 100 times more efficient to study a lot for math, even for this year. You're in January, you can still do it. It's the exam, I mean, the 20 at the exam. And then you think about how to learn business but when you're at the university, you have 3 years to be a good student and to learn the other things, right? But instead of asking me just for a 10-minute recommendation, you're going to have something called investment club and business club, and this is a group of people, students from the second year, sitting there waiting to teach you how you can learn about those things. So now you have one KPI, is to get into Nova or Católica, which is good also. Will you do it? Yes? 20? Do you know how you get 20 at the national exam? It's easy, I'm going to tell you the recipe. But it takes 3 hours a day, every day. Do you want to give it? 3 hours a day, every day? So the knowledge that you need to know is not infinite. Is there a math teacher here? Yes. What's her name? So Professor Inês, she knows, she can tell you. The knowledge that you need to know about math, what you need to put in your head to have 20 is not infinite. It is big, but it is not infinite. You can actually get, somehow, at the time I found an explicador to give me that, but you can get a folder with everything you need to know. And I promise you, if you study 3 hours a day, if you have, but you need a folder, okay? You will actually know everything because it's not infinite. Really, when you get to university, there was a lot more math to study. So it looks big, but the number of types of variations you need to learn, they can be put in a folder. Okay, so that is one. The other is soon, in 3 months, you need to get other year's exams, and you need to start putting yourself into it. You sit for 2 hours and you do the exam of 2017, doesn't matter. And then you feel, I can't finish, I don't know this part. Okay, so I know where I need to focus, and then you go study about that for a week, and then you come back and you do another one, and you'll get there. But if you just go to classes, you kind of study for 1 hour a day, you won't have it. I had the highest grade, and it took me 1 hour to do the exam in my year. But it was me and like 5 or 6 of my friends. We just knew everything. But it's 3 hours a day. So, for example, you play soccer? No? But you look like, maybe because of the jersey. So I was playing in Estoril. So it was good. It was first division. And I quit because I needed the 3 hours. And it worked for me. So I just need to put 3 hours.
So I'm curious, how do you maintain a work-life balance, especially being a father of 2, and still manage to train every day and read 2 to 3 books a week?
Yes. So I think the answer is I do it now because I had the courage, the will, the resilience for not doing it before. So you cannot have great work-life balance throughout the whole life and own 10 businesses or 15 in 20 countries, and that doesn't exist. So when I was studying for the university, I quit soccer. I actually had a girlfriend, but I quit soccer, and it was a girlfriend and studying. There was nothing else. When I go to the university, for each exam season for 7 weeks, I was studying 12 hours a day. 12. When I go to McKinsey for 9 years, I was working 70 hours a week, about 13, 14 per day. It looks crazy. You have people complaining because they work 8 hours and they want to work 7, right? So, but my bet was, if I do it now, I'm opening doors. At some point, actually, it will pay back. So what happened? It paid back. So when I turned, this picture is 10 years old. I look younger actually than in the picture. It is a good picture. If you see a normal picture from me 10 years ago, I look much older than now. So it was not always that easy. So now I own many companies, I'm experienced, so I know that I can't be managing anything specific, otherwise it will all be on me. So I have select good people, only try to work with people with whom I can delegate. So in the end, I just focus on where the time is most valuable. So if you think of many things in the companies I'm involved, many things I could do what is done better, maybe, than the person. I'm more experienced, that's okay. But I don't. I just focus on the other things that only I could do. And part of this is very important. I don't know if you can grasp this. Part of what I'm bringing to this is the geopolitical perspective, the network, the fact that I'm rested. So there is a problem in this in an organization. Going in and being the calm person that makes you feel that it's possible to solve the problem is much more important than going there very anxious and tired and just solve the problem for the people. So you don't know how to do something. And I arrive here, I'm tired. I do it for you. You're going to be frustrated. I took out a problem, but I gave you a new one, which is being frustrated. Right? So by being very balanced and reading a lot and watching, reading all the newspapers and reading books all the time, I'm continuously up to date. And it's very hard to. So imagine my PhD, I had 3 semesters of 6 courses each, that's 18. Each of them you study 10 authors. It's 10 classes, 10 authors. One is Aristotle and the other is Plato and the other is Hobbes and the other is Spinoza. You have one lesson, but you need to learn it, which means you need to study that guy that is just, a brilliant guy like Kant on your own. I have done 180 of those, which means that it's much easier for me to keep up what the new philosophy is out there, just by listening to 3 or 4 podcasts of what is coming out, because I have all the background. It's the same with geopolitics, it's the same with politics, it's the same with business trends. Because I have all the background, I can keep up with the trends. The people in the business, they can't do it because they don't have the context. So it is my job to be informed, so I can give that to them. Last week, one business, we have a serious issue for a week. We are organizing meetings because we have to solve these problems. Facebook blocked our account, and it's massive for this business that the Facebook account is blocked, and we are doing a forum to discuss it. Yeah, great. You could have told me. Not only I know the global head of the cyber, the blocking department, the department that blocks content. It was a terrorism-related content. So because there was a picture of some terrorist, it was blocked. I actually know the global head of that, but we have in another company, we have an agency that can solve it. Just, I'm going to put in contact, and then you solve it. So my job at that moment was not to sit there and discuss it for 3 hours, was to have had the network that when the problem came, it was just one that I could solve, you see? And part of it is being very rested and healthy.
Okay, so from what I've managed to understand until now, the advice that you have to us, 9 to 12 grade students, is mostly to be determined and study 3 hours a day. What else can you tell us? What other advice do you have, especially for students like me, for example, who are considering careers in economy, management, or technology?
Yes. Okay, so I only have 2 advices, and that is one. The other, I already said it before. I was just put the seed there. And I don't want to give you more, because if I give more, it's 3, it's confusing, so it's 2. And the other, what question did I ask you when I arrived? How many of you are Portuguese? And the other was? How many of you know where you want to be 10 years from now, right? So, the most important, even before the 3 hours, although the 3 hours can still be used, you don't put the 3 hours aside until you know where you want to be. But the most important is to know where you want to go. This is super hard. This is much harder than studying 3 hours a day, I promise you. But you need to study the 3 hours. And you don't get there where I want to be by just sitting with this beautiful view outside, just reflecting. No, you learn where you want to be by talking to people, older people at the university, 25-year-olds, 40-year-olds, and asking them, what are you doing? But honest, it's not just chit-chat, just sit. I would like to, all of you have parents, most of you have, I hope, at least one. So you have also their network, and maybe some of you have older brothers or cousins, and they have their network, friends, and you want to ask them and then their friends, particularly their friends, because they are not your family, can I talk to you for 30 minutes? And then you go, what's your name again? João. And you? Maria. So, and you go, João, and you say, look, I really want to try to understand what I want to do in life. If I want to be an architect or a lawyer, or if I want to be a journalist. But I cannot know if I want to be, if I don't know essentially what it is, what it entails, how hard it is to get there, if it's nice, if it's fun, if it pays well, if I can do it in Portugal, if in Portugal I can only do it in Lisbon, right? So, but then you need to tell them, look, I'm asking a big favor because it's 30 minutes, but the biggest favor is you need to be truthful. You need to tell me really how you feel about it, how hard it was, if you're happy or not, how much money you make, if that is okay, if you can live okay with that. So, and by talking with several people, it's not just one, you will get a better understanding of what excites you. When you listen to the one thing or one of the things for you, you will notice. But you need to go after it. You need to talk to these people, and it's almost as many as possible, as diverse as possible. Like, you can always go back and do medicine. It's fine. If you're in 10th grade, you can go back 1 year. But talk to doctors, talk to managers, talk to startup guys, and talk to executives. But ask them to be truthful. If they really like it and what they like about it and what they don't like about it. And just do as many as possible. Ideally, you have a broad idea where you want to go. Because if you don't know where you're going, any path is okay to keep going. And you need to do 3 hours, right? So you are going somewhere, but you may be going to the opposite side of where you want it to be. The sooner you learn, or the sooner you have a goal that excites you, then you can change. But the sooner you have a goal that really excites you, then it's much easier to put the 3 hours.
You just gave us advice about how we can build our future, and I believe you've been building the future for ALPAC Capital. How do you see the future of your company, specifically in the areas of communication and technology for education?
Now I'm only focused on the existing companies and Euronews in specific. This is super sincere, which means that I'm not. ALPAC is a group that is looking for opportunities to invest in general. At this moment, no. At this moment, we are only focused on improving and selling the existing companies in technology and telecom when the time is right, and solving this issue of how to make a really good European media group, because media loses money in general. It's a decreasing market. It's very relevant, very important. It's a tool that you don't want to let it destroy itself. You don't want to let it die. You don't want to be responsible for that. You really want to see a future. But there's a lot of new technology and consumer habits, and we need to distinguish. Really, we need to understand how to have the readers, the consumers, with us, and how much is we have to change and how much is we have to change them. Okay, so for example, you ask me, for me the future is this, so I'm not looking into new businesses, so, but I can tell you a bit more of those. So, but only 30,000 people in Portugal are informed, cold enough that they read books and newspapers. 30,000. It's very short. The problem is the younger generations like yours and 20, there are people there that also read newspapers and books. Huh? They are less and less, but those that really make a difference, those that get to make it, they do. Don't get it wrong. Huh? I promise you, because I know these people. So, but a lot of people are giving up on this, and you can't go back. When you're 25, you can't realize that you don't know about the world. You just wasted 8 years with TikTok and Instagram because you think you're informed. You think you know what is happening in the world because on Instagram, your friends or your tribe is putting out something. So this happened in Gaza. Here is this happened with André Ventura. Like actually, all of you know who is André Ventura, but probably if I ask you who is the Secretary General of PS, which by the way is in power now, you don't know, most likely, or 5 of you will know. It's the party in power, right? So when I was 15 or 16, half the people would know, not 5 of you. So there is a sense of being informed that is not true. It's a lie. When you're getting the information of what is out there based on your tribe, it's super negative. So we are needing to deal with the issue of how much we change for those people and how much we actually make the society change so that people go back to knowing what is happening. The outcome, if we don't solve it altogether as a society, is disastrous. It's real disastrous. In every single country, the politics is looking really bad. Let's say the most extreme parties are already in power in 5 out of the 26 countries in Europe, and they are in top 2 in another 9. Which means it's not even in Portugal yet. Huh? So it's happening everywhere. It will happen here. Just we are late. So this issue for me is 100 times more important than investing in new telecom businesses. I just don't care about it. I'm all into trying to solve this issue because if we don't, we are a big media group, then who will?
So, what do you believe will be the opportunities and challenges that professionals are going to face when entering the job market in the upcoming years?
There is an issue of salary because the productivity of older people that are not continuously improving, let's say 50 years old, 45, 50, their productivity is lower than what you could have 6 years from now. You come with energy, you're technology savvy, you just came out of university, you know everything, but they already forgot most of the things, especially those that don't read books and newspapers every week. But they cannot, their bosses, the owners of the companies, they can't just have the 50-year-old that has been working there for 30 years make 1,300 euros and pay you 2,600 euros. You're just arriving. It makes sense. It's obvious. You need the young people to come, and for them to come, you need to pay them more. But they can't because those people, they are their children also. Like they have been there loyal for 20 years. They are not. It's not their fault that they were born 25 years ago, right? So it's unfair, in their perspective, to pay you double. But if they don't pay you double, which they won't, you will not go there because you can get not 2,600 but 4,600 if you go to Austria. You need to learn French, German, but you can. It's easy. For you it's easy, for me it's hard now. If you are a programmer, you can go to Netherlands, China, wherever you want. The Portuguese companies won't be able to afford what others are until we solve the whole productivity issue of the country. We can make the productivity of the country grow. We can, as a society, but it can't be with the existing policy. We can't be continuously being satisfied with growing 1% because the others don't. Those competing with us, they grow much more. So because I don't see us changing that, what will happen, the biggest challenge is either you're in Portugal or you're abroad. Most likely you will go abroad. And that is the saddest thing. But it's also sad to see you, for you or any of you, staying here and making 1,200 euros, because 1,000 or 1,200 euros per mês, which is it's normal, but it's not sufficient, because houses cost 1,000, and you cannot live with 200, really. So because of that, we are losing these talented people to outside. I really think that is the issue, because as I see it, if you go to university, to a good one, I'm just splitting this. If you don't go to university, a good one where you're exposed to technology, you're screwed. There's nothing for you. It's going too fast. But if you go, you'll be qualified. The universities are good. They're not the best. We shouldn't think we have the best universities in the world or in Europe. It's a lie, but we have good ones. You'll know much more than what the companies need, but they just can't pay you more, and then you go to another country. So the conclusion is, you need to get ready for that. You can't then be frustrated. I warned you. If you want to make more, either you're here and you make less, unfortunately, or you'll go abroad. So you need to go abroad. You should have done Erasmus program, because then you know how to live abroad. You need to speak English better than Portuguese. You know about the geography, you know about other cultures, because you don't want to go work abroad when you're 22 and never lived outside. Because you never moved to a new country. You don't know how to take care of the logistics. It's too much. You're starting to work and it's the first time you're moving. So you'll need to be living abroad a little bit, mingling with foreign people, speak English very well, speak other languages. So that's really what I think. I guess you never heard that before, but that's very pragmatic. Marina.
So what skills do you find to be the most important, or do you find to look out for when you're trying to hire new people onto ALPAC's capital or any company under that?
So I only do the recruiting for ALPAC. So any of our companies, I generally don't get involved into the recruiting. But I do for ALPAC. I never search, and we only take people that have come when they are at the university. It's a trick. It's a recipe, but some people just know it, and it's very important they know it. They come to us and they say, look, I want the best, the most successful thing I can do when I get out of university is go to London to work in investment bank or whatever. And in order to go there, I need to have in the curriculum something great. And ALPAC is one of the few things that are really recognized in London, which is because you don't have investment banks, American banks in Portugal, right? So ALPAC, because of some of the things we own, is recognized. McKinsey also. But there are a few. So people come and say, if I have interned here, if I was an intern, estagiário, if I was here for 6 months or for a summer, it will be very important for my curriculum. I know that. I don't really know if you need me, but I really need to work here. So whatever it takes, you pay me whatever you want, you give me whatever work, it is relevant for you, but give me that opportunity because I know what it means to me. Someone having the insight, they know where they want to go. They know that they need a curriculum. They know what is good in their curriculum. They tell me that and to other 5 or 6, the available ones. And they go there and say, I'm 20 years old, I'm the best student of my university and I want to work here for free. You can't avoid taking the person. This happened to me, actual hirings, at least 50 times. People that actually went there and now live in London or in other countries. It happens every year. It just happened now. For the last one, well, the last one you will start, but the last one, just before, second best of Nova University, wanted to go to London in January. He came to me in September. He was there for 2 months. In November, he already was admitted to the bank. It's called Antonio. It's a true story. But there are many more Antonios. So this is the one thing. If I see a talented person going after it and just with the humility and the drive of, please let me work here, because I can't say no. That is the one skill. Then I don't ask, I just ask, so what is your average grade? So then I can call a teacher, verify the story, and that's it. But that's my case. You didn't ask me what Santander wants. They will tell you something different. It's my case. We have 5 more minutes, so...
So some of the students here really want to go study abroad. Considering you have an MBA that you studied in the US, what advice would you give to those students that want to go abroad, like living and overall just managing their life, now that they're alone in a new country where they probably don't know anyone yet?
The advice to be prepared to be abroad or how to get abroad?
How to be prepared.
Yes. I'll repeat to this what I told looking to the other side. There is a program in every university called Erasmus Exchange Program. Have you heard about it? Okay. So if you do the university here, you have that. It's just easy to apply. There are 1,000 options. During your university, you actually go abroad and you have that experience, but there is 100 more people in your experience. So it's super easy going out once and then you just learn it. That is the easiest thing. If you want to go earlier, when you're 17, I haven't done it, so I'm just guessing. But I suppose the minimum is that this summer, next summer, you go to a summer school in London, in Nice, whatever. But just something that is about university, and it's a 3-4 week program. I don't know how much it costs, 3,000-4,000 euros, I don't know. But whatever it is, from now until then, if that is the thing that matters, you can go work at the shopping, or you know, just make the money. But you can, I'm sure you can find a way to pay it. Just you need to work for it. But if you go for 3 weeks, it's already getting closer. You're gonna feel the loneliness. What happens? Everyone, 100% of the people, when you go abroad for the first time, first night, what did I do? I can't believe I was so comfortable there. Why did I come? Or maybe second night, because you may go out with your friends on the first. But it will happen. That super excitement is followed by a bottom. It's so important that when you do the MBA, you have a kind of a team of psychologists that are with us for a month, because they tell you the first day, it sounds great now. 3 weeks from now, you're going to be at the bottom. Because the excitement is gone, the work is starting, it's cold, you're going to feel terrible. So it will happen to you for the first time in a smaller period, and then I think that will prepare you.
Okay, well, I think we've gone through all the questions we want to ask. I hope you've enjoyed this little interview we just made. I know that we've enjoyed it, and we have a little gift for you as a thank you for coming here and telling us all this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.